Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Nomad Experts Podcast by Beach Commute. Today, we're going to talk about something that's been probably overlooked a little too long based on the amount of feedback we've got from our listeners, and that is dating and relationships as a digital nomad. This is a meaty topic. We were talking about this beforehand, and we were trying to come up with a bunch of bullet points. There's a lot of different categories of stuff that we need to cover. There's just so much to it, and it will be part of your life as a digital nomad. And fortunately, we've got a lot of experience with that. We've got a lot of friends that have done that, and I think we've got some pretty solid tips that we can share with you to make dating as a digital nomad a success. I do want to read an email that we got from, we're just going to leave it anonymous.
While you're pulling that up, I want to say it's kind of like dating and also relationships, marriage, like all the things, traveling with a significant other you've already known, meeting people, how do you meet people, what if you, all the things. But
everything.
This was
within
everything,
the universe of dating. Yeah.
Kids, marriage, all of that. So this all came, this has been long overdue. A lot of people have asked us about this in general. But we got an email from, we'll leave it anonymous listener that, Jeff is going to read. It was a really awesome email, such good questions. So you'll know who you are if you're hearing this. Thank you so much for writing in. And just to show you, we really genuinely do make whole podcast episodes out of the questions you guys write in. So if there's ever a topic you want, please do let us know. We'll leave it anonymous if you don't want your name behind it. So with that, Jeff, you want to read the question or read the email that came through?
Yeah, I'll just read the email. It's very brief. I've recently discovered the Beach Commute podcast. I'm enjoying it so much. It has so many good tips. I actually take notes. It's really sweet. I know. I had a question that it makes me a little scared. I'm like, oh God, I got to be, if we're helping and teaching people with God, I hope we're saying all the right things. I had a question that I'd love to ask. How to be a digital nomad when our partner or significant other does not want or can't be a digital nomad? And it's a two-part question. The second one is, I wonder if and how people make it work. I would also like to know if people at some point feel like they must make a choice between life with a partner and kids and life traveling the world. It's a lot in there, a lot to unpack. So we're going to get to that, but we also have like 5 bullet points that we need to go through. There's just so many different aspects to it. So let's just start with the first one. First thing that we need to address, do you need to wait to have a significant other and then start traveling?
Yeah.
What do you think, Marissa?
Yeah, so I added this one to start, and again, we will address those specific questions that were asked in the email, but we kind of wanted to do like start to finish of the process of like, what do you need a significant other in general? What if you have one? What you do? What is it like to actually date? Like, what is it like to have marriage, kids? So we're going to kind of go in order of the bulkiness of these questions, I suppose. But this first one I actually added in because this was a question I had way back when I was in my mid-20s when I was doing this. And again, the question, as Justice said, is let's say you want to become a digital nomad. Let's say you want to travel the world. There are a lot of people, and maybe this is you listening, who you might think to yourself, like, I don't want to start that process, like, until I meet that person. Like, I don't want to, for whatever reasons, maybe you're scared to travel alone. You'd rather have that significant other and that security, there's a security to that. And I know for me, maybe this is, I don't know, I'm curious if anyone else feels this way. Please write in. If you do, this is like going to be an interesting one for Jeff and I to share. So let us know, write us in if you can relate to any of these. But I know way back when, I had this weird thing. So I don't know, you may know my story if you've been listening to a while, or if you're newer to this episode, you may not know. But the reason I became a digital nomad, I was working a very corporate job. I had been in a relationship for 5 years. I got engaged. And instead of doing the normal, like, I'm going to go for a honeymoon for a week or two, eventually we kept seeing all these places we want to go. What if we just quit our jobs and like backpack the world together for like 6 months, and then we'll go settle down and buy the house and have the kids and do the things. So it was like these travel dreams we had together. And he was from Kenya, so he had, lived globally, and it was just like, we had this travel bug together. And I actually ended that relationship. I left that engagement before we ever traveled, but I still had the urge to travel. And I wanted to travel the world. But in my mind, I really, I had this, maybe it was because of initial plans I had, but I felt like I don't want to go see all those countries without and then find someone who wouldn't have had those experiences with me. Have you ever had this? I don't know if it's a unique.
No,
I'm sure it's not unique.
It's definitely, it's not something that I felt. I'm
Yeah.
interested to get kind of unpack what's going on in your head with that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. And I think for me, it was probably maybe just the way that I had anticipated doing that. And I was like, well, I don't want to travel to all these places in Asia and then maybe meet someone and they haven't been to all those places, or I'm going to have to go back to all those places. Like, I just kind of wanted to have that person before I left to travel. But what I tell a lot of people who, whether that's the reason or for whatever reason, if you're just waiting because you don't think you'll meet someone traveling, or you feel like you won't, I don't know, you'll be lonely traveling, or you can't do it alone, whatever the reason, I always tell people, if you have that travel bug in you, and if you have the desire to live as a digital nomad, and you're an adventurous person, and you want to make this your lifestyle in some way, shape, or form, you are likely going to meet, to me, there's a better chance of meeting your significant other. I always believe you can meet someone anywhere, anytime, but you're putting yourself in a pool of other like-minded digital nomads, travelers. Like, when I used to, once I'd started my nomad life, when I would come back to Atlanta and maybe I would go on dates or things there back in the day, I would be, I don't know, I felt so different. Like, the people I was meeting were not my people. But then, when I travel, everyone I'm meeting is more of a potential candidate. And I've met a lot of great people and have had many amazing, the people who I related to most, they were also already traveling. So it's the same thing. If you want to meet someone, if you're super into CrossFit, go to the CrossFit gym. You're going to meet someone who also liked CrossFit. Dude, if you love sailing, go sailing. You'll meet the sailors. Whatever it is, put yourself in there. So I guess for me, in short, you absolutely do not, if you're thinking, I'm single now, I need to wait till I have a significant other to start this lifestyle, I would say go start. You're more likely to meet whatever it is you're looking for, dating, marriage, long-term, whatever you want, you'll find your people if that's what you want. So that's kind of my take on it. I'm really curious your thoughts on it.
No, I agree with a lot of that, especially the part where you're going to meet like-minded people. You will find when you become a digital nomad that a lot of digital nomads share very, very similar values to you.
Yeah.
And when you share their core values, and when you share these core values with people, you're much more likely to have lasting and successful relationships, I think. And let me just talk about maybe some of the core values that we generally see with digital nomads. I mean, one of the biggest things that really is central to most of us, I was just going to say we're kind of rebels. we kind of don't want to be told what to do.
Tell us what to do.
That doesn't sound great, but it's
not our core value. We just happen to also feel that way.
We seek freedom, basically. We're looking for the ability to do what we want. And we also are fairly adventurous, have adventurous spirits, wanting to experience cultures, wanting to see things, wanting to challenge yourself. And for the most part, most of the digital nomads I meet are very humble and very, very open to learning new things and not bragging about themselves, just being very, very receiving and observing the world. And I think you'll see that when you start traveling. If you already have that spirit, if you're listening, I'm sure you do, that you're going to meet a lot of people that share such a similar core value, and they're going to want to do a lot of the same things that you want to do, which is so important. But if you say to your potential partner, hey, I want to go to Madagascar, if they're a digital nomad, it's likely they're going to be like, that sounds fucking cool. And they might want to do it with you. And these are the things that you want to share with your partner. So I really, really like that point.
Yeah. And what you said about the rebel part and the value, I think, yes, you do find a lot of us who are like, don't tell me what to do. I'm free, I want to live free. And that's a value. But I think on top of that, you also get people who are challenging the status quo. You don't, the society will tell you in most countries you live in, you get a job and you go to office and you stay there and you do that. And if you're a digital nomad, you've at least challenged that assumption. And so to me, I think a lot of the nomad people that we interact with, a lot of our best friends, a lot of just nomads in general, it's they're not going to just accept what society says. You might think a little bit alternatively, or at least question it, and then just whether that's where you want to live, the way you want to live, the foods you eat, your growth. You're going to get people who are asking questions and challenging norms and also just traveling. Like you said, if you want just that adventurous person. I dated someone once after I left my engagement for a while, and he was I I'm going to Asia. Let's go to Singapore. Let's do this. And he was like, not about that. It was great. But I was like, that's not going to last. I don't want to have to like pull someone to, go fly to Madagascar tomorrow. I want someone who's going to be like, hell yeah, let's do it. And there are plenty of people out there and amazing people. So yeah, I love that.
What if you want to travel and your partner doesn't? This is what part one of the question that our listener wrote in.
Yes.
That's really tricky. And I think there's one of two ways it can go. The bad way is it doesn't work. And it might not work because, like I was talking about before, if that's a core value to you and it's not a core value to your partner, you're not sharing that. And that's going to cause a lot of friction because you're going to get probably a little bit resentful that you're not living life the way you want to live. You're living life the way they want to live. You're compromising. And that's generally not a good thing. So it could not work, but also that partner might be open to being like, yes, okay, go live your life. I want to stay here. And in between, we can do some long distance, like strong long distance relationship, meaning check in often, have phone calls, do all that kind of thing. Part-time. You'd be like a part-time digital nomad and you kind of can do a little bit of both. I don't see that too often, but I see how it could work.
Yeah, I actually do. I would say it's not it's not the majority of people doing that. Like mostly you either meet, if there's people in a relationship, couples, whether it's new, long-term, marriage, however long, they're mostly either traveling together and then back home together or traveling full-time. But I can think of a handful of people off the top of my head, mostly women, actually, now that I think about it, who have male partners, but could definitely go either way. But I think like power to maybe just because that's what I'm talking more to about this stuff, just in my friendships and day-to-day life. There's a lot of people who, like you said, maybe you stay home for months or maybe you do 2-month-long trips a year. So I definitely, again, I can think of several people I know personally who have long-term partners at home and they'll go like, again, with not permission is the wrong word because if you talk to me and a girl, I'm like, I don't need permission to do anything, but like, I should say,
we are rebels by nature.
We are rebels. Don't tell us. Don't put us in a box. Don't put me in a home and not let me leave. But I should say, like, they decide together that they're independent and fine. And like, while it's better, they'd rather be together. They are good and solid enough that like it's okay for that person to go for a month to whatever country they choose and then come back home to that person. So as Jeff said, it really can go one of two ways. And I think it really depends on you as a person. So like, if you, and your order of importance in the coaching that I do, if you were to come to me, I would say like, is that person more important to you than the lifestyle you want to live? First, I would say try it out of go somewhere for a month and then come back to your person. And then a couple of months later, go on your own solo trip and come back. If that is not what you like, if you're like, hey, you know what? I want the partner to travel with me. And then I would ask you, is that partner that you have currently more, and there's no right or wrong answer to this question. You might decide like, you know what, in another lifetime, I wish I was a digital nomad traveling the world, but like I love this partner more than that, and that's okay. And if you say, you know what, I fucking love this partner, I wish he would travel with me, but like my more important value is like I'm in this world and I want to explore it and I want to travel and I want to do that with my significant other, then that probably isn't the right relationship for you. So yeah, there's kind of three. Like you stay together and you stay, you kind of do you come and go from your partner, or you break up and you find a new partner who shares that value and can travel with you. And I just want to say that is a really fucking hard decision. We feel for you. If you find a coach to help you work through that. That's what I can say, because
that's a good point. Should probably talk through it.
Yeah, like those decisions, I love helping people with that. And all I can say is like, you probably know in your gut what's right to do if I had a guess. It's really hard to make the decision either way. So yeah, hopefully I think that covers number 2. Those are the ranges of possibilities there.
Not an easy one.
We feel for you if you're in that position.
When I saw that come through, I was like, oh, such hard decisions coming.
Yeah.
But that does kind of break down the
either
different pathways that you can go. Okay, so let's go to number 4. Do I have to choose between having a life partner and living a nomad life? Well, it kind of ties.
Go for it.
It kind of ties into the last one. No, I don't think so. I think it actually kind of ties into the first question pretty nicely too. Like we said, you're probably going to meet somebody as you're traveling. You put so many people together with like interests. attractions are going to happen. It's inevitable as a digital nomad that you will end up dating other people because you just be like, my God, I want to be around this person because I want to share all these things with them that are so core and central to me. So I would say that's a resounding no for me. You don't have to make that choice between one or the other. It's not a A or B pathway type of thing.
Yeah, it's such a good question. There is like, I remember, like, again, I was like newly out of an engagement and decided I wanted to live this nomad lifestyle. And, you know, I remember way back when, this was so many years ago, but when I was sort of making that transition and started traveling, and maybe even after the first 4 or 5 months of traveling, I would come back and talk to people back in Atlanta. It was a lot of my parents' friends, but also, you know, people our age as well. And they would look at me and be like, well, that's so nice. Like, I hope, you know, go have fun in your travels. That's cute. And then you're going to come back and settle down and like, you know, like a good little girl. It's like
a phase. It's so condescending. I hate that. Oh, you get it out of your system. You're just, you haven't grown up yet.
Yeah. And it's like, and in their minds, I think it came from a good place probably. And I can imagine if I was in their shoes, it's asking the question that this person asked here, which is like, if you're trying to imagine me like bopping all over the world from like Cambodia to Bulgaria to Nigeria, of course they're like, you know, how are you going to meet someone? Like you know, travel if you want, but then you're going to have to make a decision and come back here and settle down. And it's absolutely not true. There are so many examples, you know, I can think off the top of my head of people who have met. And again, I guess a lot of the things we're talking about here is like if you're wanting a life partner and or marriage. But again, even if you're just thinking about dating and all, like just, you know, it comes from any lens. But I think just for the sake of this, we're going to pretend like you're just kind of like looking for a long-term marriage. But take it for anything you're looking for, you can find for sure while traveling. That said, there's so many people we know who have met their significant others, who are married, who got married and have kids now. And we'll get to the kids part at the end as well. But you can easily meet your person on the road. And we'll talk about some logistics in this. I think it's the next kind of part of this here as well. Because I know a lot of people, like, while you're traveling, like, you're not going to meet someone from, you know, Jeff Fears from California. What are the odds you're going to meet someone from California? And, like, that's also possible. I remember some good friends I know who I met, like, in my second month of nomading. They had met the year before in Thailand. They're both from Spain. And they found out they were literally lived 10 minutes apart and, like, neighboring, like, in the same neighborhood, basically, like, right next to each other. Both from there, had never met before, but met in Chiang Mai, Thailand. They're now been married for like 3-4 years. So all of it to say is like you could meet someone who lives in your very same place back home. You might meet someone who is from a different country and marry that person. And they're logistical. We'll get to this in a second. Like, you know, there's definitely some logistical challenges, which we can talk about. We've both had like that experience as well. But all of that to say, like, you absolutely can meet that significant other, whether you're looking for marriage, family, kids, and you might decide maybe you want to settle in a new place together. Maybe you want to move to that person's hometown or country. Maybe they want to move to yours one day. Maybe you'll always keep traveling or bouncing around between the two. Like, you have the freedom, but like I guess, like hands down, definitively, you do not have to choose between the two. You can absolutely meet that person while you're traveling and figure out what that life looks to you from there on out.
I think I also want to add that as you start traveling as a digital nomad, I think you're going to view dating, just life in general, a lot different, especially when you come back from your first or second trip and you start seeing people at home, and you are going to naturally get that, like, I don't want to fit into this cultural standard of you have to get married, get your house, get your dog, get your kids. You might start evolving the way that you think about what a relationship should be. And you'll see that when you come home, you're mentioning people that say, oh, well, you're going to settle down, you get it out of your system, that kind of thing. I found that I have less in common with people the more I travel, the stationary people, and that way of thinking of you have to do it this particular way. Who says you have to do it that particular way? Just because that's what a lot of people are doing in the moment right now. Like, why is that the rule? And again, it comes back to the kind of that rebel nature that we have, is like, why do I have to go by these rules? I'm not less mature or less ready for a relationship because I don't want to do it your way, right?
Yeah.
And I see that so much when I come home from traveling. There's like, well, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this. I'm like, I know, I don't have to do any of these things. And I think you might start thinking of dating in terms of, well, maybe my pool of dating is not stationary. It's maybe more digital nomads and your whole
I felt
perspective
that way,
on it.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, well, these are my people now, and I'm going to find
Yeah.
somebody amongst these people. Yeah, it was just an observation that I had. So let's jump into number 4. This is a big one. How do you meet significant others while traveling? It's a big one because there's so many different ways to do it. I mean, we don't have a list, but just top of my head, dating apps is probably the first thing that people would generally use. Bumble, Hinge, Tinder. When I'm traveling, I see my friends living on that, going on dates very, very regularly, and very hit and miss, right? Like, I've done it, and like right now I'm in a relationship as a result of Bumble, and it's been over 2 years. So it worked for me, but a lot of people date with a lot of different intentions, a lot of different levels of success with their dating as a result of dating apps. But I would say, like, in the spectrum of ease of meeting people, it's probably pretty tops because you can just set up dates, go on quick dates all the time. And also, I think it's a good way to experience another culture because you're going to meet, a lot of times you might meet a local and you might learn about the culture. You're going to be going to new places in the place that you're traveling. Like, oh, let's go to this restaurant. Cool. That's a brand new experience to you. You're not going to the local Applebee's for, a dinner date kind of thing. You're experiencing as you're dating, which is a really cool aspect. So I lost my train of thought. I want to let you jump in.
Yeah, you started with the dating apps there. And I will say, like, I guess just if you're thinking about this being on dating apps, you might want to filter between, like, are you looking for a local experience? And if so, like, are you willing, like, that person might not be a nomad. Would you want to, like, and again, are you just looking for a fun time for a month, or are you looking for a life partner? Like, that will depend who you might swipe right and left on the dating apps. So if you're not, if you are looking for a life partner, and that's, I guess, kind of more of like what this episode is about. Maybe we'll do another one on just like dating for fun. I don't know, like in other countries, that's sort of like a different topic than I think these initial questions were asking. But you might not want to match with people unless you're in a country where you'd be like, you know what, I actually wouldn't mind living here full time. And some people do that, right? Like you might, I know people who like, I want to move to Amsterdam, and so I'm going to be there, and I might date local people. Like, okay, go for it. Otherwise, like, you can spot really easily on dating apps, like, who are the digital nomads. Their pictures look very digital nomad-y. They probably say they're a digital nomad.
Dead
or they're
giveaways.
Working.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very easy. So that you might just be like, you just want to match with the other digital nomads so that potentially you could keep traveling together. And we'll talk about some logistics next here of like, how do you do that? What does that look like if you do meet someone and you have different schedules or different plans and all of that? So we'll table out for just a second, but all of it to say when you're starting. But also, like, I've had some really amazing, like, experiences dating on dating apps in local countries. And like, I'm like, this is cool. I feel like I'm a local in this country. Like, they're showing me things like as them as a local that I would never. They can drive me around. You can go like see their local spots if they grew up or whatever it is, right? Like that's fun and cool in its own way. But maybe if you're looking for like a nomad-y life partner and you don't want to settle down in that country that you're in, like look for the nomads on the dating app. So beyond that, I would say
let's take a little side piece on. I think we need to discuss safety with dating apps.
Yes.
If we're this wouldn't be a responsible podcast if we didn't talk about safety. And I think actually I might defer to you because as a woman you've got more safety concerns than a man does, and maybe you've got a few tips for doing this in the safest way possible.
Yeah, I would say, and honestly it's the same as if you were to be using these apps in your home country. Like the exact same process. I think you just might have an added level of fear or just of concern, of just, I don't know, attention to detail, because on top of maybe meeting a man or some other partner, whoever it is that you're going on a date with, like you also don't know the country, right? It's like one thing when you're home, you're like, let me call my best friend. They're going to come pick me up if I'm in trouble. I'm going to share my location. Like it's a whole different world when you're like in a foreign country. So I would say, like, honestly, use the same judgment you would if you were home of like, if people sound creepy, if they look creepy, we talked about the spidey senses. I forget what that was about. I don't know. That was about job board. Same spidey senses will go off if you're talking to someone who you probably shouldn't trust. Hopefully, like, trust your gut. And if you're like, I'm not sure, like, it looks fine. Why do I feel like like this is a little bit sketchy? Don't go. Just don't do it. Like, if you're not certain, you can talk to them on the phone. Like, I know that's really like, find ways to vet them, meet them in a public place. Just be very smart about it. Like, share your location with a friend, tell someone you're going, but again, meet in the daytime, meet somewhere that you're comfortable walking around. Like, you can be in control of that. So those are some tips that I would give. And again, just like I would just say, if any part of your intuition or gut feels like this isn't a good idea, just don't do it. It's not worth it.
And for the guys out there, for looking for a fun time, you're not looking for anything serious, you're going to find a different caliber of dating partner, and can be really, really sketchy. I'm thinking of Colombia in particular. There's a lot of people there that will do bad things to you. These will be setups.
To men, yes.
They'll disappear. Like, they'll get kidnapped. They will, I don't want to give people too much fear, but you can get kidnapped in Colombia. You can get drugged, right? That happens quite a bit. Keep an eye on your drink when you're going on a date. Like, don't leave your drink uncovered and leave the table on a first date in particular. Yeah, and as a guy, just be very, very wary when you're looking at these profiles. If it feels a little sketchy, it probably is. And this isn't just limited to Colombia. There's other places like this too. So if you're kind of leaning in that direction, you could find stuff that you're really not looking for. So a lot of the same rules that you said apply if you're going on these dates that are a little bit more casual and you're looking for kind of a fling. You got to share your location. You have to go in a public place. Be very, very critical when you're looking at these profiles. If they immediately ask you for your WhatsApp number, don't give it to them because they're trying to get off the app and they're trying to they might be actually prostitutes. That's a common thing in a lot of these places.
You're talking about females with males.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very dangerous. So again,
you guys have like different concerns than we do, but I kind of forget that. Like, I remember talking to a guy friend of mine who I met up with one day, and he was like so tired. I was like, "What is wrong with you? Like, why are you so tired?" He was like, "I was like up all night. I went on this date." I was like, "Well, that sounds fun. Like, it's a fun time." He was like, no, like, I had to stay awake all night because I was afraid she would, like, he got home. Someone there was like afraid she would steal all of his stuff. Like, that's a common thing for males to be concerned about in some countries. Like, if you sleep with someone, you go to sleep, they will literally take your money, your belongings, your passport, your computer, and leave. So I feel like we have different, like, males and females. Like, it's funny hearing your stories because, like, that's the last thing on my mind. Like, I feel like it's for women, it's like your body is like your sexual assault. Like, and for men, it's like your belongings, your money, and all of that. But yeah, just again, that like and again, you met like in Colombia, like on a dating app with your girlfriend of now 2 years. So it's like, not to say don't do it, but it's like, just have, use your instincts.
Yeah, use a lot of common sense, and remember, you're not at home. Like, the same rules that you're going by don't apply anymore. So you really are going into foreign territory, and when you don't know, it's going to be less safe. So I think we can. But,
so that's other places to meet. So those are dating apps. That's like one way. But I would say, I always tell people when they're like, isn't it hard to, like, when you're traveling all the time, you're on the move, you're meeting people. And I will say again and again, I have met more people, like, more amazing, like, long-term partnerships, dating, however, like, whatever you are looking for while I am traveling compared to back home. And again, hopefully this, if you are like single and thinking about becoming a nomad, hopefully this gives you a lot of excitement and hope, because at least, like, I guess we have kind of like a lens of the US for now. When I'm home, I'm in the US. I imagine it's like this in most countries, so correct us if we're wrong. But when I'm home, I feel like dating apps have sort of changed the landscape, where like people don't really try to meet in person in the same way anymore. It's like, I go out to dinner with my friends who I've known for like 20 years. I sit with them at the dinner. Like, we're not going out like clubbing and like meeting people all the way I did when I was 20. I'm just not meeting brand new people all the time the way I did when I was younger and like more like people were single. So I'm like, if I go home, and I'm in a relationship now, so it's different, but I'm not like out meeting new people. However, when you travel, you literally like are meeting brand new people all the time. Like with nomads, it's like friends of friends, friends of friends of friends. There's nomad meetups, and people don't have their same little circles from back home. Like whether it's even just to meet new people as a friend, maybe it's even a couple like making new friends. You're constantly meeting new people. And I have dated, I met someone, I dated someone for 3 years as a nomad, not too long ago, and we literally met like at a dinner party from a mutual friend. Like he knew him from like back home. I knew him through some of our Wi-Fi tribe friends. He was like a remote year person. He was like throwing a dinner party. There was 10 of us. And like, it's like, you're just meeting new people all the time. I've met people in coffee shops. Like I've met people just on like everywhere you can imagine. Like I have had some great relationships just like, or friends of friends or, Wi-Fi tribe chapters people meet all the time, like in those communities, in co-living places, in extracurricular activities. So all I can say is like, if you think dating is hard wherever you live and you're concerned you won't meet anyone while you travel, it is the exact opposite. You can't not meet people when you travel, and in my experience.
And the travel groups is the good thing too. Like we had an episode on that. You've got Wi-Fi tribe, obviously. You've got
remote year, hacker paradise,
remote year,
nomad cruise,
all of these. Yeah, exactly. And these are good opportunities because you're interacting with people on a regular basis as opposed to just kind of seeing them in a coffee shop. You're with a group and you're going to meet a group of people. I think it's a really good way to start.
Doing things again and again.
Doing things again and again. You get familiarity with people. It's very, very safe. It's like a natural way to do it. Is there any other ways that we've missed?
I mean, I just think it's like, it's easy to meet, whether you're on an app or you're just meeting people in person. I think my takeaway from that one is like, it's so easy to meet people while you travel if you're putting yourself out there, right? Like if you're just like not talking to anyone and like staying at home and whatever, like it's I suppose easy not to, but I think it's way easier to meet people when traveling than when you're not traveling. And like we said before, you're going to find your like-minded people. So yeah, I've met people at like conferences, events, like nomad events, nomad meetups, just like places where, other digital nomad meetups, like there's tons of those around. And if you're really looking, like there's other, if we think about probably back to what was the episode, like 6 best starter locations for digital nomads, like if you're going where there are a lot of nomads, it's going to be easier for you. I think, Playa del Carmen, Chengu, Bali, Medellin in Colombia, like there's tons of nomads. So you're more likely to meet more nomads.
Perfect. So let's bring it to bullet point number 5. This is another big one. How do you date while being a digital nomad? So traveling with them, syncing schedules, doing long distance.
You start with this one and I'll add in.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. So you've got a few different ways you can go. We know a lot of digital nomads that just travel together all the time. Everywhere they go, they're together. That's great. Works for them. And most of the time, these are full-time digital nomads for the most part. Don't go home too often. I can think of like 5 off the top of my head. And they just pick a place together and they're not syncing schedules. They just like automatically travel together and they're living together full time. And then you've got kind of like in between, which includes long distance, which is what I do. My girlfriend's in Colombia and she does digital nomading part-time, a few months a year. And so that involves syncing schedules, right? So we will pick a place together. We'll go for a month, 2 months, something like that. She's very family oriented, so she likes to go home and recharge, visit her dog and that kind of thing. And during that period, we do long distance. And people get really, really scared of that. And there's a lot of negative connotation with that. People just assume long distance is really, really hard and they can't do it. And maybe for some people that's really true, but there's a lot of ways that you can actually make it work. It takes work to do it because you're not sitting there visiting them constantly and just sharing day-to-day stuff. You actually have to actively work at it and do specific things. I'll give you some examples. So my girlfriend and I are apart often. We'll travel together to specific locations. I'll go to Colombia. She'll come here. But in between, we have specific days of the week where we do different stuff. Like on one day of the week, we will write a note to each other. Another day of the week, we will do, I highly recommend this, just watch a movie together. So just go on FaceTime, plug in a movie, and just watch a movie at the same time, and then talk about it and share the experience like you're right. We will once a week like pick our favorite movie scene or a song we really like on YouTube and share that. So you kind of like sharing an experience one day a week. And it doesn't really take a lot to put that extra thought in, but it goes a long way because
Yeah.
it's you're constantly thinking about the other person or thinking about you, and you're sharing all the time, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be on the phone attached to somebody all the time. I have to have 2 hours of FaceTime. If you have to do that, long distance might not work for you. If you're a little bit more independent, I think it's probably a little bit more conducive to you. Yeah, I'll kick it to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, those are some good ones. There's like so many different aspects of
Yeah.
this. So that's a great way of like you're meeting someone kind of like either traveling together or like you guys said, kind of coming and going together. The other scenario that I want to talk about is like what happens right when you meet someone. I think that's sort
Oh,
of like the
yeah.
hardest part of it.
Definitely.
Also the most fun. I think something very underrated that maybe people don't talk about enough because most of the world has never had these kind of romances or talks about. But when you meet someone newly as a digital nomad, you're like in these honeymoon locations. And
Mhm.
it's like, most people date someone for a year and then go on a trip like this. And you're meeting people like you're already living in Bali. You're living in Mauritius. You're living in the beach. Like you're in these cool places. So there's something really special. Like when you meet someone, it's just like can be this epic experience that is like, I just think one of the most fun things in the world that it's like, yeah, people don't talk about that enough. I wish that experience for everyone. Like it's so fun. And then on top of that, I think the hardest question is like, what do you do from there? So let's say you're in Mexico, you meet this other digital nomad from some other country who's also in Mexico. You have this amazing month together, and then you've got plans to, I don't know, hop over to Spain. They're going to, I don't know, Japan. Like this is real, and you're like, okay, like I don't want to leave this person, but I have a flight. We have different plans. So to start, Jeff, what was the rule we said in? I think it was a couple or maybe some episodes ago. Your quote, your favorite travel quote was book one-way flight. Was that
Book a one-way flight?
Book a one-way flight. This
Very
is
poetic.
why, folks. Very poetic. This is why it really helps. So sometimes maybe you did book a one-way flight and you haven't met anyone, you're about to leave, or you're meeting up with friends somewhere, and you meet someone in the last days you were there. Like these are very real situations, people. And what do? So one, you might change your travel plans. You might decide to stay longer. One of you might change plans to go with each other, or you go your separate ways and then talk long distance for a month. Or sometimes this is why I really recommend don't plan too far ahead. But some people you might have plans for the next 3 months before you can come back together again. So that's kind of the realities of it. And then you have to choose, like, are we making plans together? Are we like doing our separate thing and maybe meeting up here and there? It gets complicated. And the other weird thing, I think it's like until you've dated as a digital nomad and lived this way, it's like kind of weird and hard to understand. But it's a big decision because you almost end up like there's kind of like no in between when you're moving around. You skip like 30 steps. Whereas like when you
Immediately
date
start
normally,
living together.
I had a really hard time when I tried to like date as a normal human back home sometime. I'm like, what do you mean we're not living together tomorrow? Like, I don't understand. So like typically, right, if you meet someone back home, it's like you might see them 1 week later. They probably got plans with like friends and family members. You might see them another hour like for dinner, another week later. And like a year from then you'll move in together maybe. And then like you'll go on one big trip together and it's like a big deal. When you're a nomad, like I have dated someone and like literally 2 days later we like flew to Singapore together like from somewhere because we both had to do a visa run. It's like, you want to just come with me? And like, that's just life as a nomad. I have met people and it's like, okay, we're just living together now because this makes more sense. And like, you don't have friends and family. Like you don't have you might have friends there, but it's like, it's not your normal life. I don't know. It's not normal life. It's like, you just end up living together. And if you're going to the next location, it's like, do we want to both just like pay for these different apartments where we don't know anyone anyway, and we're going to be with each other all the time anyway? So you end up just like living together within like days of meeting this person in a foreign country. If it sounds crazy, it is, but like I can't think of not doing that. Honestly, it's like it's very weird. Dating as a digital nomad in the beginning stages, especially, it's like everything's backwards. It's everything you don't know from home. It moves
it's
so
warp
fast.
Drive. Everything just goes so fast.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say with that is like if I date like I think dating 1 month as a digital nomad where you're basically living together, you're pushing each other in like these hard, like you're navigating foreign locations together. You're maybe flying to a new location. Like you're putting a lot of these big, not strains in a bad way, but like you're learning so much about this person that I think like 1 month of dating as a nomad is honestly the equivalent of like a year and a half of normal dating back home. And so on the bright side, you kind of like get through things much quicker.
You'll
like
know if it's going to work really,
you don't have to
quick.
waste 2 years of your life trying to figure it out. Like
you don't really know somebody until you live with them and travel with them.
Or travel with them, yes.
Or travel with them. You get like, you'll see things that you don't like right away. You're like, wow, you do. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad I saw that right off the bat.
All cards are on the table right away,
exactly.
for better or for worse. So that's it's just an interesting. I just like to share that because it's very different dating as a digital in like that sort of way than the normal life. And then you have to decide, like, do you keep living together? Do you keep going? And like you said, maybe you come together and do long distance. I've had one of my ex-boyfriend. He was not allowed in the U.S. It was like the one country in the world for visa purposes. He was not allowed to come. So like if I wanted to go home for the holidays, I was like, okay, I'll peace out. I'll see ya.
Yeah.
We'll meet back up here later. And so it's like, and then like we had different friends and different plans. And it was like, my friends are all going to Greece next month. Your friends are all going to Thailand for the next 2 months. Like I'm going to go meet my friends here and then I'll come live with you in Thailand. Like, again, if this sounds crazy, welcome to the world of dating as a digital nomad, but it's also, it's really fun. So all of that to say, it might sound wild, like you'll have some of the most memorable, fun experiences, like living this lifestyle and dating in this way. And also back to the long-term question, like you can, like, again, I cannot count how many people we know who have met, gotten married, like found whether they're from the same country or different countries, like there definitely is logistically more challenging. Like I think of a couple, there's a girl I know actually, she's a Wi-Fi tribe person who lives here in Atlanta. She's from here too, lives like down the street from me. And she met a guy from the Netherlands like years ago. So there's a lot of visa issues. Like he could only come, they had to plan, like he could only be here a certain amount of months at a time, a certain number of months of the year. So they would kind of come here, they would travel together. They might go live in the Netherlands together for a couple months. And they recently got married and are now like figuring out those logistics and kind of bounce back and forth between, mostly in Atlanta and then sometimes in the Netherlands. So there are all types of situations, but you really like, I just think it can be logistically harder than just being like, oh, I just met someone who lives down the street from me and both of our parents live in here and all of our family lives here and here we are. So it's challenging, but you also get a variety of life that, is fun and exciting. So all of it to say it's doable. You never know who you'll meet, where you'll meet them, what it will turn into, and it can be magical. So I would say just like, if it's your concern, roll with it. And if you have the desire to, as we said back from the beginning, if you're an adventurous person, you have that travel bug, like go out into the world and meet your fellow travel bug. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The last bullet point here is a little bit tough. We don't have practical experience with it, but we do know people. Can you travel and have kids? I'm going to say the answer is yes. Because we've seen it. We've seen it working very well. And it's just a little bit more rare. And just like a normal relationship, it's a little bit more complicated. There's a little bit more logistics to it. Your kid has to go to school, right? So what have you seen for parents educating their kids while they're traveling? Because that's like one of the biggest things. Like, how is my kid going to have a good life? Are they going to be able to build friendships? Are they going to be able to get the education that they need while we're traveling?
Yeah. I have this concern as well. And like Jeff said, we don't have this is another one we've meant to do, is interview someone who has kids on the podcast. And we will do that at some point. But I have this concern as well. My partner and I both like want kids. We want to be in Costa Rica, in Atlanta. Like, is it like, how do you have kids? Where do you raise them? Where do they go to school? Like, what do you do? But what I can say from nomads that I've met is I found that nomads with kids tend to travel a little bit slower. So you might find a country where you're like, I love this education system. Like, didn't think I'd be living in Thailand, but we want to stay here. Or I know some families who have moved to Costa Rica because they have some cool schools and like they traveled around, and when they had kids, you might kind of just pick a country or a place that you value the education system or the cost of living or the price. So that's one potential, is to kind of go somewhere, whether it's your, maybe somewhere different than your home country, and like find a school and just sort of build an expat life. That's sort of one option. Another thing we see, Yeah, there also are people who still move around nomadically with kids and they either homeschool their children or do something that's called world schooling. And that's more of like an online, like I don't know, there's like online teachers and online curriculum
Hmm.
that's built out and you're traveling around the world still. So I would say the families that I've seen doing that do still travel a little bit slower. So whereas when we first started, might have traveled, move to a different country every month, those people might stay 3 months in one country because then you're like letting your kids kind of slow down, build a
Hmm.
routine for kind of a semester, get to know kids. There's also a company that literally they're building more locations, but they have different like set locations around the world. I think there's only 4 or 5 locations right now. And I don't know why I'm blanking on the name. I'll think of it. But they have like a community for school. And so you go and maybe there's a crew of other families that are there for that like semester. So you're educating your kids. There are like teachers and stuff there, I believe. And you're there building a community with other parents and kids as well. So it's different. Like I know there's a lot of kind of arguments if you look at forums online. They're like, it's terrible to move your kids around. They need stability. And then the opposite side of that is like, what better education is there than to experience the world, to meet people from other cultures, to hear other languages, to not just like read a book on the pyramids of Egypt, but literally be at the pyramids of Egypt learning the history and navigate. Like, I just think you learn so much common sense and educate yourself on like street smarts and travel smarts in the real world. And you can still get a great education via like AI, homeschool. Like with technology is so much easier now. So hopefully that answers a little bit. But any other thoughts or anything to add to that one?
With that, it kind of takes the mindset of I'm going to kind of buck the cultural expectation that kids have to go through public school, private school, whatever. They have to be perfectly stationary or else they're not going to get a perfect education. It takes just a little bit of a mindset shift and overcoming a little bit of maybe criticism from people that have this expectation of how you're supposed to live life and how you're supposed to raise a child. But you're a parent, you know best for your child. And if you're confident that they can get the education that they need, and we've seen it happen, we know it's possible, then you can do it. It's just a matter of logistics. So I wouldn't listen to the naysayers who are generally coming from a place of fear because it's so unknown to them. And they think, well, what if I'm doing it wrong? And they might criticize you. So just keep that in mind. Like, they're your kids and you know what's best for them. And if you've done your due diligence and you've figured out a system, whether it's the world schooling or something, and you feel that your kids are going to have an amazing life, get the education that they need while traveling, then do it, right? Trust your instinct on that one. And don't just listen to people that are stationary and say that you have to live your life a specific way. They're your kids. They're not theirs.
Yeah. What good advice, Jeff? I was like, I got some opinions about normal schools, but like, that's good for other people too. I do.
We never got into that. That's interesting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's something. Yeah. I don't know. I personally feel like kids are like woken up so early that they're not meant to be awake. They're like put in a box with fluorescent lights. They're told to like sit still. And if you don't, you're like medicated because you have ADHD, when like we're not meant to like sit in a box all day. And I think we learn so much more when we're like just exploring what we like and don't need like standardized tests. I could go off on this forever. I won't if you feel like your kid should go, also like, I think at the end of the day, what you said is most important is like, if you feel like that is right for you and your family, I think about like, I have friends and families who might even feel the same, but still send their kids to school here in the States because they're like, I'm working, it's free childcare. Like I need a break and like, don't talk to me, Marissa, until you deal with this. So I totally get both sides of it, but like, if you are a nomad, like I don't know if I ever maybe I would have come to these same conclusions without traveling, but I think like, because we're questioning the norm about like going to an office, going to work, living in one country, I'm also questioning going into school, taking standardized tests like for my kids. And it's something my partner and I now actually related a lot to, of like wanting kids to experience like an alternative education system and like a different lifestyle. So again, like if this is something that resonates with you, you'll probably find the partners out in the world that have that as well, like as a nomad. So there is no right and wrong. And sometimes like you might have like maybe when you first have kids and you've been nomading and you still nomad for a little bit and then you decide like you know what, they're like 7 or 8 years old now. They want to play on a sports team and they want more routine. They want to, to have their friends that, they're not leaving every month. You might decide later in your life to go back home or put roots somewhere else, or you might not. So I think, like Jeff said so beautifully, like, only you know what is right for you and your family. And I guess what I want to give you guys permission, like if you're listening to this, is that you don't have to do it the way that everyone else does, but do listen to your gut of like what feels right for you. And it's definitely possible to do it in this alternative traveling way should you desire. But again, only you know your desires, your values, your kids and their needs, and make, I follow a family that like lives on a sailboat and sails around the world with 4 kids and homeschools their family on a boat. They're like my favorite people to follow. So like there is no right or wrong. Like you do you, do it feels good. People will judge. I guess we should say that. People will judge. They will not understand. They will say you're doing it wrong, and you do you. That's, I guess, what I got to say there.
That's a good way to leave it. I love it.
Mic drop. We're done.
Yeah. I hope we covered everything. That was a thick one, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's probably so much more to it. So if you're listening, maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point around dating. So if you want to write us in, tell us you want to be anonymous. If you we probably won't share your name if you're sharing stuff about like, I don't know if we ever share names. We won't share your name, but we will answer questions. So if we covered everything you wanted to hear, I hope so, and that's great. And if not, please absolutely write us in hello@beachcommute.com. As you saw, like this was an email from someone we did a whole episode about. So if you have specific questions about dating or something in your personal life or about getting a remote job or living as Noah, whatever it is, write us in. We'll do more on dating if you have questions, more on jobs, locations, all the things. So yeah, if this was helpful for you, if you want to open your phone and leave the little thumbs up, stars. We've got so many more like subscribers and things. We love it. Love the 5-star reviews. And other than that, if you're not already on our email list, check out beachcommute.com/email. We send out awesome resources, helpful information about remote jobs, about the podcast, about new programs we're launching. We've got some fun stuff coming up. And ultimately here at Beach Commute, we're here to help you get a remote job so that you can date as a digital nomad, live with your family as a digital nomad, have kids as a digital nomad, get married in a foreign country as a digital nomad, whatever it is you are looking for. It all starts with getting a remote job and remote income so that you have the freedom to live all these fun things that we're talking about. So any last words of wisdom before we wrap up, Jeff?
Buy a one-way flight.
Buy a one-way flight.
Just going to close
meet
out
the love of your life in an awesome foreign country. Have a honeymoon. Yeah. Like your life will be a honeymoon, which is cool. Like the last thing I will say, this is kind of makes me laugh. If you ever thought about getting married and having a normal honeymoon, I kind of wrote about this in the email to our list that we wrote today. You might be hearing this episode later if you're on it. But I imagine you probably had this conversation too. So many of us will like, I think about being with digital nomad friends or even like partners that I've been with, like in the most epic of locations that only people go to on honeymoons. And we're sitting here like, what are we going to do on our honeymoons? Like, have you ever had this conversation? How do you raise, we are living a honeymoon. Like, what else can you do? It makes me laugh every time.
I've with Manny, we've just casually gone to weekend locations. They're like, oh my God, this view is a screensaver. Yeah. This is wild. And it's just like a Tuesday. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is a honeymoon location, but we're just we're just doing
Tuesday.
That. Yeah, it's just another Tuesday. So I don't know with your honeymoon how you raise the bar once that standard is set.
Yeah.
How do you find a better screensaver location? How do you find
That's
better?
the one con. Your honeymoon might be disappointing because you've already lived 35 honeymoons by the time you get married as a nomad.
And the beauty is you just pick another honeymoon spot. Like, all right, this one sucked. Let's go to another one.
You just haven't been to this one yet. Or maybe you go back to a favorite place you love. So anyway,
maybe better beach.
Yes, that always makes me laugh. So anyway, with that, you can do it. There's plenty. Dating as a digital nomad is both easy to meet and sometimes logistically hard, but totally doable, totally worth it. And if that's your lifestyle, then you'll probably have a better chance, an easy chance of meeting a like-minded person. So there we are.
All right, we'll close it out with that, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening in.